Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I hope you all had a great week and hope your week was not as eventful as mine. Anyway, it's wonderful to be here on another Friday evening with the Fridays with FOB. And I have a special guest today, Kevin. Hi, Kevin, would you like to say hello?
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Well, good morning. I guess you could be anywhere in the world. My name's Kevin McDonald. I am a Microsoft MVP. I'm a member of the Viva Explorers. I'm a co-host of the Copilot Connection podcast, and also a solutions architect at Avanade, along with Foyen.
Thank you so much, Kevin. That was a quick intro. So much more that he can
I can
say, but
do the longer one. You know me. I can chat for hours, but yeah, happy to talk through things. Maybe I should talk about why I'm here to talk about prompts, and that's really because I've been looking at generative AI. It's since I think it was end of last year when I first got into what generative AI was, and funnily enough, something that I'm still trying to build was seeing that when first OpenAI came out before ChatGPT. I was amazed
yeah,
by this thing that could have that natural language, and I was actually trying to build out something that would create a demo environment for Microsoft 365 that would simulate the use in the office. Because I was like, actually, this would be amazing if we could have natural conversations. And I was doing a lot of Viva at the time, so I was like, great, let's build something that can simulate some of the things for Viva. And then ChatGPT came along, and then Copilot came along, and suddenly this kind of thoughts that I'd had about bringing generative AI became to the forefront, and more people have started speaking about it. It's probably the bit of technology that I've had most conversations with non-tech friends about on there. And underpinning all of this is prompts. So all the stuff I'm doing with Copilot, all the stuff with OpenAI, is powered by prompts, which is the chat for today, really.
yes, it is. And I remember Kevin way back when we're all trying to learn how to search on Google. And I know that I will literally put two sentences, like trying to express express myself. And maybe I was just one step ahead, in the prompt world rather than in the Google search world. And then I'm on page 5 and I still can't find the answer. And I say to a friend, "Oh, I can't find this thing." And he just goes on there and then back with the answer in seconds. I'm like, "How did you do that?" So it's really exciting to see how we've all evolved, that we know how to find what we want to find very quickly in the Bing searches and the Google searches. But yes, here we are today now talking about prompts. So let's start from the basics. What is a prompt, Karen?
Just very quickly before I get to that, I think it's funny. Just thinking you talking about those search engine days. I don't know how old you are or other people watching are, but if we go back to one of the early search engines was Ask Jeeves, was trying to encourage you to put it in that natural language. And you're right, we learned that that didn't really work. We learned to do ways of doing search. And now we're kind of coming full circle back to that way. Copilot, we could say, is like Clippy back in the day. We've got the prompts that go in there. We've kind of gone full circle to this a little bit, and the reality of what was wanted them's come back. So I think it's quite funny looking back at those. But because of that history, it means that we've brought this through. So what is a prompt? It's a way with interacting of something called a large language model. So it's the engine behind generative AI, and it's being able to bring forward this way to query it. So I often talk about kind of Copilot, and we talk about history. We had the 1960s, artificial intelligence started coming along, that evolved into machine learning and things like the neural networks that had that sudden jump ahead into AI. And then we've had with OpenAI driving a lot of this, the large language models that have really just consumed and been trained on huge volumes of data and using clever stuff that, I'll be honest, I don't understand. And from what I gather, a lot of the people who are creating it don't entirely understand in some cases as well. It's strictly true, but there's a certain amount that they don't get how these things link together. And you suddenly have this very clever engine that you can ask questions of, and it uses that huge amount of knowledge. But the key to the prompts is the way you ask questions is the best way to get that information out. And exactly as you were saying there, we learn ways of getting search to come through and how we get to the right search results. It is the same with prompts. If you ask things in a good way, you're more likely to get that back on there.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Kevin. And when I started this series, I spoke a bit about how to have a great prompt, right? And it was kind of just three main things. The first thing that I have spoken about is clarity. Like you need to be
Mhm.
clear as to what you want. And the second thing is the context. You need to give the AI
Absolutely.
system the context, what you're talking about, and then refining, right? A lot of us might get frustrated after the first time. You're like, come on, you're so amazing. Why are you not giving me exactly what I want? But sometimes it takes a bit of refining to actually get there. But in your opinion, what would you say makes a great prompt?
So I think exactly what you said there. You need to be definitive in what it is that you want. What is it that you're trying to get out of it? What is that you're trying to answer or get from it? And also, how do you want it? So think about that, what you're trying to get, and then what is, you talk about the context, but how do you want it back? Do you want it back as a table? Do you want it back as a block of text? Do you want it back as one bullet point, three bullet points? How is it going to be used? But also not just that very kind of factual side. The thing I love about prompts, and your title says it perfectly, it's the art of the prompt, because there's an art to it. It's not a strict science. So you can start to get a bit more creative. Say, I want it back in the style of a 19th century poet, or I want it back in the style of a tech guru from Silicon Valley or a tech bro. And I know that sounds funny, and rightly so, but what that means, and where I've seen the power of this, especially with the Microsoft 365 Copilot, is you can put things across in the style you want. You can put your, I can be quite wordy at times. I like to kind of elucidate and kind of go into different threads of things, but then I might want it back in a very formal style. I might want it something that's going to go on a PowerPoint presentation, that's going to be in an email to a client, that I want to be very clear and polite. And you can say, here's what I want to say. I want it in this style. I want it to be this amount of size. I can be specific around that. And you can get that back. But also, and you touched again on there on context. The context could be what you're using to prompt with, but it can also be what you've asked before. So the nice thing is about these large language models is you can have a conversation. So I want to get back the thing in three bullet points. I want to get back a summary of the news from Ignite in three bullet points, and it comes back and you go, actually, could you make that four bullet points? And it knows what you said previously and can go, oh, these damn clients, they're always asking for new stuff. And it can bring you back that other thing on there. And
Yeah.
so you can start to evolve. And I love some of the different techniques for doing that. And
Yeah.
you can take it through from different ways. I know we were chatting about this earlier, that there's different styles of those prompts. You can put yourself in a persona and sort of focus on that as a blah 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 I would like to, or you can take that large chunk of text and say, here's an example of the sort of thing I want to say, but make this. It could be a news article, and you can say this news article could be about something that's happening on there, and then you say, but I want it in this style, but I want it to talk about what 10 Downing Street is doing at the moment, and it can interpret from that. So you can give it those examples and work from different ways as well.
Yeah. I think that's the part I like best, the refining. It's really
Yeah,
amazing to see the way it comes back. You're like, oh, actually, I want
absolutely.
10 points. No, I want six. Actually, I want five. What will
Yeah,
you say
yeah,
are your best
not
five of
those
this
ones.
10?
But
And then
even
just
like,
change
I like
it
those
around.
first four. Could you do four more like that and that sort of thing? So you can be very specific with it, which is great.
Wow, fantastic. So, yes, let's show you examples because that's the key thing of our session today. Like we don't want to make it abstract. I mean, you can go ahead and ask the ask the AI engine all of these things we're talking about, and I'm sure you get this and much more around how to write a great prompt, how to write an effective prompt. But what Kevin is going to do for us now is he's going to show us this in a demo, a few real examples that we can connect with. All right, so let's
Absolutely. So yeah, whenever you're ready to share that screen, there we go. So I'm going to start off in one that all of you can use because we know there's a little bit of controversy about I can't afford Copilot or I haven't got 300 licenses, so I'm not going to go straight there yet and show you something that people can get. So I can go to Bing.com. In this case, you can see I'm logged in. And I've got this lovely green tick. So if you are looking to do this in an enterprise situation, look to use Bing Chat Enterprise, talk to your organization, because this will guarantee whatever I say here, all those different messages don't go outside this bubble. It's not going to use my corporate data, but it's also not going to share that elsewhere. And if you want a lovely story, I think it was Samsung where they were using Chat GPT for search things, and gave away a whole load of information out there. So don't be like those workers. Use Bing Chat Enterprise, or there is the I forgot what it's called, but the Chat GPT Enterprise that also has that capability in there to lock it down from that. And I'm going to start off with what's not a great prompt. So, what is the difference between a Microsoft MVP and a Microsoft regional director?
that's
I'm
a good
seeing
one.
your thing there.
You're
Oh, you can
coming
see it
for me,
popped up with
Kevin.
something on that. Well, I've got you and Zoe just kind of hovering around me. Zoe Wilson, who's also at Avanade on there. So you can see it's bringing back that information as it starts to generate that answer. And to be honest, it's not a great prompt on there. I've asked it just a vague question on that, and it's giving me some examples. It's bringing back some information about Azure and how an MVP is awarded based on their contributions, such as blogs, forums. Books is a controversial one, but I won't leave it there. You can see it's giving that reference to where the information's coming from. But I need to be a bit more specific. So, and again, we were talking about adding there, saying we can keep that conversation going for a while. And just on that, for Bing Chat, we got 30 responses. So we can have that conversation up to 30 times on there. So make the response 3 bullets points. Use the style of a very strict Microsoft salesperson. So you can start to bring in there what is the format, what is the style that you want to be in there. But
Yeah.
you can also say don't do things. So don't include information about specific people. So I can see above there Agnes Molnar, who's going to be over in ESPC, the European SharePoint conference next week.
Mm,
It's kind of got information from her site. So maybe I don't want to do that. So I can say don't do things.
okay.
Only include information from the Microsoft site. And we'll kick that off. I just realized it possibly is a bit small for some people. Let me just make that a bit larger. So you can see, and I could have put this in the original prompt on there. I'm just adding those information. So I'm adding some more specific things. And now I'm getting it back in the format I want. I'm getting those bullet points on there. Let's see what it comes back with.
Mm.
Excellent.
So it's really great to
Yes,
see how once you've included additional context and specific instructions, the way it brings back the answers in the exact format that you want, which is where the power starts
absolutely.
to, where the power lies.
Yeah. And again, you can tailor that. You can start to improve it. One thing I'd encourage everyone to do with using Bin Chat or many of the other co-pilots that are available or other language models is if you like it. So if that feedback is good, let Microsoft know. If it's not, let them know as well. And I'd say probably especially if it's not, and let them know why it's not getting, because these are the ways that it starts to pick up on what works and what doesn't work as well. And I know Again, this is Bing Chat Enterprise. Microsoft's not using your data specifically, but they're using the themes. They're not using it to train directly, but they can start to understand what is good, what isn't, and what you're trying to get across from there as well. So it's always useful to get that and provide that feedback back, as any good MVP and regional director would as well.
Yes, 100%. If you have any questions for us, you can put them in the comment box and we will take it after the at the end of the demos.
So the other thing that I love, and again, the Microsoft ones do this very well, and others, but you start to get these hints on different things you can do. So make use of these tools and these nudges towards the right thing to do. So here it's taking down a different route. It's asking you, how can I become an RD? So it's stretching that conversation. Let's see what it says if we say make me think. So I know you said, you need to be very specific on things, but every now and then you could just let it see where you're going. Oh my gosh, it really is making us think. Maybe not relevant to MVPs and regional directors on there, but you can see it takes that conversation off to a different way. It's always good to do a live demo and see where things go on that as well. But you can bring these different things through. I'm going to deviate slightly from some of the things I know we were talking about there, and just have a look at the image creator, because this is the other side to it. And again, it's similar sort of thing, but it could be draw a picture of a Microsoft MVP standing in front of a large audience. And again, the same ways you do there, we had that question, what is the difference? Here I'm asking it to draw something on there. I probably should say create rather than draw, because that will influence it slightly on there. But I could say a style. So in a manga comic style. And again, you can add things on there. One thing I would say is there's other tools like Midjourney and others. They use a lot of hashtags and a lot of words, a lot of commas. So again, this comes to understanding the context of how to prompt with the different engines you use. If you use those prompts from Midjourney, and you'll see lots of great examples if you go out and look on things like Twitter, that they have some really nice ones. I find they don't work so well within within Designer from there, but
Mm.
you can see it's brought those examples through. Again, a caveat for any image generation. I know we've got the DALL-E 3 now, but don't expect the words to come up fantastically. I can see we've got Microsoft there, an MPP, maybe a most, I was about to say something rude there, but not, just in case your audience professional, but drunken, I think was the word I was going for there. But you can see you can bring these different ones on there.
Okay, let's see what he has in more examples. Does he have
Yeah,
any?
absolutely. So, one of the other examples I wanted to bring up is this one here. This is using Microsoft 365 Copilot. I'm just going to zoom a bit there. You can see some of the questions I had. What again I like about the Microsoft 365 Copilot is you have this lovely little star icon, and it gives you some suggestions for those prompts. So in this case, let's see. I'm just going to say summarize this. What was this meeting about? Summarize this meeting. I can spell today. And that will give me an overview. So I'm not going to tell you what this meeting is about. It was recorded as a demo meeting, but I'm going to let Copilot come through. And there is a fairly simple, very basic prompt from there. I would say that Microsoft 365 Copilot has been designed to kind of pick up the ease of different things from there. So trying to not always have to have that very detailed prompt from there. So they encourage some of the more basic prompts, and they've tailored things behind the scenes to make those work well. So I can see that it's summarized this as a planning session for a workshop about Microsoft Copilot. It does make me laugh that often Copilot can't spell Copilot on there, but that's a story for a different time. A tool that explains what the tools are. It gives the different topics around it. We had an agenda and structure. We talked about the roles and responsibilities on there. And you can see it picks up some entertaining things. So the jokes and puns that Paul made about Microsoft Copilot, which Kevin did not find very funny. So it's got those different things. What I love about the prompts you can do here is if this was a real meeting, people would, be taking their own notes, or you'd have someone defined as a note taker, or maybe just at the end you'd summarize those outcomes. And so you may get a summary like this that someone has created. So this will make it easier, or make it more efficient. But what you often won't get is could you list the different perspectives by topic? So you can see here we're starting to get that more artistic side again. What are the different viewpoints that people have, and can you break it down into different topics? So again, here, the icebreaker activity, we had an agreement here. We had a disagreement around the different kinds of ways of doing it. So Paul suggested a trivia quiz with puns, whereas I suggested asking the participants share their name. So it's got that perspective on there. I can even ask it questions like, was it hard to get to a decision on the meeting outcomes? On there. So you can not only see what the decisions were, but you can start to see the journey towards those outcomes. And we can see that, this is Paul Bullock, fellow MVP on there. We had a lovely chat, and yeah, it wasn't hard to get to an outcome. We generally agreed on those things from there. So it's start to build to that.
Mhm.
I can ask it even more detailed prompts like, what an interruption is when one person cuts off another. So I can explain to Copilot what I consider an interruption on there. Were there many interruptions by Kevin in this meeting? Yeah, I will be honest, this was created from a transcription that I generated with Copilot. So I suspect not, no, because we were very much following a script from there. If this was
Yeah.
one of my normal meetings, I'm sometimes naughty and do tend to interrupt because my focus goes on there. Um, you can see there, Kevin only interrupted Paul once when Paul made a pun about Microsoft 365's Copilot's favorite drink. What is Copilot's favorite drink? The Copilot Colada. Uh, Not the
Nice.
greatest joke in the world, but that's AI for you.
Yeah. So one of the things I like best, I like a lot of things about this particular
Mhm,
Copilot, but it's the recap, right? So sometimes if you have a very long meeting, like sometimes if I have a meeting that is 90 minutes long, so I need to attend the first 30 minutes, jump out another call, and come back for the last 30
mhm.
minutes, I can actually say recap the meeting so far, and I'm able to see everything that I've missed in that period while I was away. So it's
Absolutely
not,
agree.
you don't really, like, you don't have to wait till the very end of the meeting. You can
Yeah.
start the interactions while you're still in that session, in that call.
And yeah, completely agree with that. And that comes back to kind of forming good prompts as well. So I had about a month ago, we had 5 days of workshops, and we had transcription on throughout those meetings. So exactly that. If you dropped out for an hour, you could come back, but you could say summarize the last 3 minutes of the meeting, so you can be specific with your prompts to pick up particular areas, because that scenario you gave there where you're out for 30 minutes, you wouldn't want to summarize everything so far. You want to summarize what happened within a particular period. And you can see that in the last 3 minutes of meeting were about the Q&A section of the workshop and what happened there. So again, this is where you think about those prompts that can come through.
Yeah, sounds good. I definitely didn't do this because I was like, oh, I heard all of this before. Why is Copilot telling me everything I heard?
Yeah,
So this
yeah,
is, yeah,
absolutely.
this is again coming back to being specific in your prompts. So you get exactly what it is
Absolutely.
that you want.
And it's interesting because I mentioned at the beginning that you can use these prompts not just from an end user perspective. If I'm creating code, so if I'm using the Azure OpenAI, or even the OpenAI what's the word I'm looking for? APIs and things on there. You can create, and there's libraries like the Semantic Kernel or Teams AI, which uses Semantic Kernel, and the other one that I'm suddenly forget, LangChain, and you can build prompts into your queries. So I could put a wrapper around whatever I write in here and say, ensure that this prompt is formal, make sure that nothing gets returned that has any sensitive context, or it could be make sure that I always return in the format of a very friendly bot that's going to help me, or return in uh, a way of a very formal robot. So some of those things that I said that you could wrap around it and put as a, you could build this into your apps to make sure that people can ask things, but you can make sure that the style of how things are responded are in a particular way as well. And
Wow.
this is, I'm fascinated about the idea of having prompt libraries, but also having a corporate prompt theme for organizations to say, whenever you're writing a prompt and it's used for our employees or even for our customers, you must keep this block of text within there, that this is our style of how we reply to people. We won't want to be a kind of cool, trendy tech startup style. We want to be a big enterprise organization. We want to be very formal with that. So some of your prompts can be specific messages, but you can also wrap those specific messages with your own prompts to add on to that as well.
Wow. Sounds very interesting.
Um, just one thing, I just want to jump back to something here. Someone I've got to know called Jamie Pierce Watson was actually invited to an employee experience user group, and she shared this on here. She does a lot of internal adoption work, and we were going to talk about, I think it was Viva Insights, and as most conversations, we just ended up talking about generative AI and Copilot on there. And she said she'd just given this internal talk about prompt engineering, and she came up with this acronym of MAGIC. And I quite like this. It's kind of stuck in my head an awful lot on there. So if you're not sure, I've kind of covered a lot of different things for the prompt. I also like to give a nice takeaway for people. Then your takeaway should be magic. So first, think about the mindset. What is the perspective that you want to write from when you're giving to this chatbot? What aspects are you trying to get it to provide? That's the context you were talking about earlier within there. What are the goals? So where I talked about things like how do you want that output? What is it that you want that output? That can be your goals. Give it that inflection, that particular tone, whether it's a large enterprise, a cool startup, replies a pirate. That's still my favorite demo. Always makes me laugh on there. And then ask for choices. So again, how many do you want? Do you want one paragraph? Do you want 5 pages? Do you want 2 bullet points? Be specific around the choices. So I'll throw that into the chat. But a big thank you to Jamie, because really, really helpful, and I love what she's shared on that. Although I can't share it into the comments. If I send that to you, are you able to post that into the comments
Yes,
for you?
I will. Yes, I'll do that. Thank you very much. All right. Yes. So thank you so much. This was really, really very helpful for me. And I can see a couple of comments in the chat coming through as well. This is great. A big applause. Someone also asking if the session is recorded so he can rewatch it. So that shows that this is like very valuable and is also coming at a time that is well needed. Um, so Ignites just wrapped up, and I was just wanted to know what your top three may be hard. So if you go beyond three, that's fine because I know that there were loads of amazing announcements at Ignite. So what will be your top announcements around co-pilots, Microsoft 365 co-pilots, whichever one?
Yeah. So you're right. This is a struggle, and I'm going to be slightly cheeky and do some publicity. We've just published Copilot Connections episode 5, Zoe Wilson I's podcast, and we talked about a lot more and went into a lot more detail. So do go and listen to that from there. But I think for Copilot, I love what Microsoft 365 Copilot can do. We've got things like Security Copilot, all sorts of things announced. But what I'm really excited about is extending Copilot, going beyond what the standard can do. And I know many of you are kind of, yeah, we just want to get Copilots, but I'm already thinking about that next phase. And there were two of my three are really around that. One was Copilot Studio, so a slight rebranding for Power Virtual Agents. But what I love about it is you can build these bots. You can have those bots now with what's called generative answers. So you're using that Gen AI to provide responses. So you haven't always got those purely canned responses. You can use that large language model to reply different things. And to me, I don't want a chatbot that when says, "How are you?" and it goes, "I'm fine. How are you?" I want to say, "Yeah, I'm not too bad today. I'm feeling all right." Or, "Yeah, today's okay." I want that natural flow to it. And with these generative answers, Copilot Studio can do that. But more importantly, this is now a way to build plugins for already M365 Studio. And soon we're going to see that for more of the Copilots. Sorry, for M365 Copilot, and we're going to see that come for more of the Copilots, that you can build that plugin. So when you ask for something, it will then feed off to that that Copilot extension that you've built, and you can build your logic there. And with the connections to Power Automate, and especially if you've got the premium connections, you can then bring in your other information. You can connect to other systems. So you could say, Copilot, please could you log a new a new user story in Azure DevOps, and you can build that connection into Azure DevOps and log it. And then you could say, could you also log the same ticket in Jira, but could you put it in a theme that will keep my project manager happy? And it will be able to do those things. So extending that capabilities to what matters to your organization, and it could be to your own custom areas. So really excited about Copilot Studio. That's number one. Number two is, because it's Power Platform, and I've got to make sure I don't upset anyone with this. There's going to be limitations. There's going to be things you can do, but it's within that Power Platform bubble that makes it low code and easy to do. But I've come from a developer world. I still love flipping open VS Code and getting dev stuff. And if you want to do that, you can build the same things there, but you can do it in that high code experience. So using, for me, one of the best of those is the Teams AI Studio. It wraps things like the semantic kernel. It wraps that ability to connect to Azure OpenAI or the OpenAI APIs, and allows you to build those things up. Plus, it allows you to create files for your prompts. So where I talked about the idea of wrapping around your bot with a particular theme, or when this thing happens, I want to do a particular prompt, you can build that in there. So you could almost separate that. People are building the integrations to your APIs. To those who may be a bit more creative and want to build that prompt in natural language, you can separate that way out. And much like you could when you're developing things, you have your UX designer who designs all the CSS and all the pretty things there, and then your back-end dev who kind of hooks up to all the systems. Suddenly we can do that in a Copilot and Chat GPT style. So really excited, really love that has now gone GA. And that also allows you to bring in your own data. But my favorite one, if anyone saw the Ignite keynote, is that frontline worker Copilot. It's lovely, and we've got these M365 Copilots that people already are paying $30 per user per month, but people aren't going to pay that for the people who actually make a difference in life. Our frontline workers who are out there doing things, working in factories, working in the NHS, going out delivering parcels. These are the people that keeps life running. And I'm so excited to see that power of co-pilots coming to them. So having that ability to, with those frontline worker licenses, bring Bing Chat Enterprise to them, and also for the dynamics, the what's it called, the guides. So if you have those headsets, if you have audio capabilities, I was so excited when I heard those words, "Hey Copilot," and something popped up and started talking to it. It is that natural way of doing that. And if someone's out there has got hands free, they can have a headset. Maybe you're in a retail store and someone asks you a question, you can just turn around slightly and say, "Sorry, give me one sec. Hey Copilot, do we have any of those funky new trainers in stock?" And it can reply back to you without you kind of breaking that connect, without having to hold up a tablet and start tapping away there. You've got that natural interface powered by Gen AI. And that, I think, will be the next one we come through. We've got to find a way to make sure that it can be effective, that we get the value, because there is the cost of running these co-pilots, of running Azure OpenAI, and we've got to find ways to get that training, that adoption, which is so important to all these prompts. How do we get those out to people that use it? But this is the start of a journey that I'm really excited to see.
Fantastic. I was actually having goosebumps as you spoke about those three top ones because it's just limitless. The
It really
possibilities
is.
are endless.
Absolutely.
All right, that's a wrap from us today. Thank you so much, Kevin. Follow Kevin on LinkedIn. We have his. I'll post his handles. Tag him on. Yeah. Oh, no, it's right there. It's right there. Is that also your? Is that also your Twitter handle?
It is my Twitter handle. Yeah. Yeah.
Great.
So
So
find me
yeah.
there. Certainly search me on LinkedIn. I am on Blue Sky and Mastodon. I'm a bit of a social media junkie. So you'll
Okay,
find me there
he's
somewhere.
everywhere. All right. So thank you so much for joining us this evening. I can see that a lot of us enjoyed the session, including myself, and we also learned a lot from you. A big thank you, and I wish you a great weekend ahead. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and see you on the next episode of Fridays with FOBs. Bye.
Thank you all. Bye bye.